Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon. 1923 Season 2, Episode 5 Review. Spencer is finally close to home, and I absolutely can't wait for the Duttons War to start. 1923 finally allows us to see a light at the end of the tunnel when it comes to Spencer and Alexandra's journeys home. Last week, Episode 4 of the Yellowstone spin-off's second season was mostly focused on the Duttons, and how they finally received some much-needed good news. I loved how the show let them have a reprieve, with Zane's surgery being a success, which allowed him to walk again, and how Elizabeth not only decided to stay instead of leaving, but also discovered that she was pregnant again. However, all the happiness at the Dutton Ranch contrasted with Spencer and Alexandra's stories, who found plenty of danger in their respective journeys to Montana. Alexandra was robbed, punched, and almost lost her train. As for Spencer, he had to run from the police to hop on a train of his own. Then he killed the 3 people who wanted to rob him, and worse, and then hopped off the train. Thankfully, Episode 5 takes both of their stories in a better direction, but before it gets there, I was shocked by what Alexandra had to face. From the start of the season, I had a bad feeling in my stomach that something terrible was going to happen to Alexandra. In Season 1, we saw that while she had a hard exterior, if it were not for Spencer, she would not have lasted as long as she did. After all, up to meeting him, she had led a posh life with very few hardships. However, 1923 Season 2 has Alex all alone, and it has led to a few unsavory moments that culminate in what I feared happening. When she first arrived in America, I was afraid she would have to pawn herself off to the officers so they would allow her to get into the country. Thankfully, that did not happen, with Alexandra taking full control of the situation. Then, she was followed by a robber into the bathroom at the train station. I was afraid that meant she would not be able to escape the dark fate I imagined for her. However, while she did get robbed and beaten up, Alexandra still managed to move forward. In Episode 5, she does not have the same luck. Alexandra proved her resilience by making a deal to work in exchange for food on the train, doing so without having eaten for days. However, that put her in the path of a man who would sexually assault her. To say I was enraged would be putting it mildly. My fears were unfortunately realized. However, I was happy that the British couple she had made friends with on the train not only vouched for her, but offered her a ride after her train was cancelled. Alex is now safe. While Alexandra had to go through major hardships in Episode 5, Spencer's story was quieter. I loved that Jennifer Carpenter's Marshall Fawcett finds Spencer while out looking for Tiana and the people who went after her. The story of Brandon Sklinar's character has always been my favorite part of the series. However, I have wanted to see him finally reach home for some time now, and seeing Spencer no longer isolated in his own bubble was exciting. That said, I was hoping he would team up with her to save Tiana. That might not have been in the cards, but the interactions between the two were cool to watch. Spencer's story also advanced in a big way because now his family will know just how close he is to home. Fawcett manages to speak to Robert Patrick's Sheriff McDowell, confirming that Spencer is who he claims to be. I was on the edge of my seat watching Spencer speak to McDowell, as it felt like his journey was close to ending, and the Duttons would soon learn their war could begin. This is exciting as it's been building up for a while, and I can't wait to see how it goes. At the end of the episode, Alex is headed to Winnetka, while Spencer leaves Amarillo on a train to Montana. Based on where they are, Spencer is a lot closer to his destination than Alex, though she now has rich friends who could make her journey easier. The other storyline in the episode was about the priest and the marshal chasing Tiana. They find the direction she went in with her dad and Pete after learning from cowboys who rode with them. The episode ends with Pete and Marshall Kent shooting at each other, and I fear Pete will die, which would certainly add to the drama as the show inches closer to its finale. After a long, perilous journey that has tested his strength, soul, and sanity, Spencer Dutton is finally within arm's reach of home. In 1923 Season 2, Episode 5, the slow-burning powder keg of emotion, grief, and justice begins to spark. And I don't think anyone's ready for the storm that's about to hit Montana. Taylor Sheridan continues his masterclass in tension, and this episode is a testament to his ability to make even the quietest moments feel like thunder. Let's start with Spencer. From African safaris to shipwrecks, Spencer's odyssey back to his family has felt biblical in scope. And now, he's on American soil. That alone makes this episode electric. The look in his eyes, part haunted, part burning with purpose, says it all. Spencer is no longer just the rugged adventurer. He's a man who has lost almost everything but still carries the weight of a promise. A promise to his family, to his brother, and to the land that forged him. This episode doesn't give us the full-blown Dutton revenge arc just yet, but it sets the chessboard beautifully. You can feel it in the cinematography, the way the camera lingers just a second too long on a glance, a handshake, a silent stare across a dusty plain. It's coming, the war, the clash, the reckoning. The Duttons may be scattered, bruised, and grieving, but they're not broken. And with Spencer back in the States, the pieces are falling into place. Meanwhile, Cara Dutton continues to hold the fort with a quiet strength that's absolutely mesmerizing. Helen Mirren has carved a character who doesn't need to shout to command power. Her grief is stitched into every scene, but so is her grit. In this episode, she writes yet another letter, maybe the last, to Spencer. But this time, it feels different. Less desperate. More declarative. She knows the time for waiting is over. The wolves are at the door, and the matriarch of the Duttons is ready to bare her teeth. Back on the ranch, Banner Creighton continues to stir the pot, but it's honestly feeling like he's dancing a little too close to the fire. You can practically see the end of his storyline looming like a bad omen. There's a certain poetic justice coming his way, and while it hasn't arrived yet, you can hear the distant hooves galloping toward him. The Duttons don't forgive, and Spencer? He's not the forgiving type either. Banner's days are numbered, and I cannot wait for that reckoning. Donald Whitfield is playing the long game, and it's chilling. The way he manipulates power, through politics, land, and threats, is the kind of slow creep villainy that gets under your skin. But the thing about men like Whitfield is they underestimate the power of blood loyalty. Spencer isn't coming home with just a rifle. He's bringing a fury that can't be bought, bribed, or bullied. And Whitfield? He has no idea what's about to hit him. One of the most effective aspects of this episode is its use of silence. Sheridan knows when to let the landscape speak for itself. The stillness of the prairie. The rustle of wind through the grass. The way the light falls just right on the Dutton ranch. It's all foreshadowing, a calm before the storm that makes your pulse quicken. And when that storm comes, it's going to be biblical. Then there's the emotional heartbeat of the episode. The moments that remind us that the Duttons aren't just warriors, they're human. The tender memory of John Sr., the empty seat at the dinner table, the weariness etched into Jacob's face. Every frame feels like it's steeped in legacy and loss. And when Spencer sets foot on that land again, he won't just be coming home. He'll be stepping into a past drenched in blood and a future on fire. I also want to take a moment to appreciate the score in this episode. The music is subtle but powerful, swelling just enough to stir emotion without overwhelming the moment. There's a particular scene, no spoilers, that features a brief reunion, and the music wraps around it like a warm memory turned bittersweet. It's the kind of scoring that stays with you, humming in your chest long after the episode ends. As for the pacing, yes, some may argue it's slow, but I'd argue it's deliberate. Sheridan doesn't rush greatness. He lets tension build, characters develop, and stakes rise organically. By the time episode 5 ends, you're on the edge of your seat, not because something explosive just happened, but because you know it's about to. It's the pause before the rifle cracks, the inhale before the scream. In a series packed with grit, drama, and poetic violence, Episode 5 stands out because of its anticipation. This isn't the climax, it's the drum roll. And as Spencer Dutton sets his eyes on the horizon, and as the enemies close in on the family legacy, there's only one thing left to say. The Duttons are done waiting. The war is coming, and I absolutely, unapologetically cannot wait.